Well, I was excited to discover what new and interesting technical issues there would be.
But there's none.
Well, the technical issue is with me. I'm sick as a dog, so if I make noises, I apologize to you and everybody that's listening. I will try and smash that mute button as quickly as I
The
can.
cough button, yeah. Are you not too jet lagged?
I never adjusted because I was so sick that I slept most of the time in Hong Kong. So I never really adjusted. So no, actually, jet lag's been fine.
That would make for a great episode, both here and for Attaché when it comes out. The sick dog in Hong Kong.
Oh man,
Is that your Wes Anderson Attaché episode or something?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So we'll need this, I guess.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Yeah, I feel like that.
We meet again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. That's entirely my fault. So I apologize, everybody, for the delay in getting this episode out. But here we are.
It's fine.
we
It's,
are.
we've both been traveling quite a lot actually. What have we done? So I've done just in the first 2 weeks of November. I've done Heathrow, Charles de Gaulle, Orly, Newark, Zurich,
I'm excited
Istanbul,
to hear about that
Karachi, Doha, Valencia in Spain, and I'm missing one. And man, and I think
That's-
you've done what for sure. So Helsinki, Vilnius. Have you not done Vilnius?
Yes, Vilnius.
Vilnius, Rhodes that you still haven't talked about, but that was a while ago. You've got Frankfurt as well. You've had that experience as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've been to a destination we never covered actually. One that is very obscure and soulless. Excel.
Oh, man, that place. It was a very interesting experience, but that place. It's you said this that London doesn't have a good conference center, and that's true. There are a lot of lovely venues, but every city's got like one of those conference centers. This one is so gargantuan. It's just beyond comprehension. So it kind of goes guardrail to you have all of these royal institution of X or the association of X, and they've all got these beautiful theaters and all of that stuff, and you sometimes end up there, or you go to the XL, which is like where they keep the Millennium Falcon. It's so huge and cavernous. But that was World Travel Market, which actually was a very interesting experience. My first time.
Oh, okay. I'm happy. Yeah, because the reason I mentioned that, guys, is that that's the date we were supposed to record our previous episode. Actually, thank God we didn't, because I was literally for a day and a half in London saying, let's record one. I would have not had the time to edit or to do any kind of production, and I would have not released it before I came back, which was a few days ago, because I've been basically away all the month of November, so that's fine. But it was World Travel Market. What was the name?
Yeah,
Was it good?
Yeah, it was fascinating. I hadn't really prepared. I didn't really know what was going on. It was I was asked to go and
That's
participate.
my motto in life.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's not always a bad thing, actually. In this instance, actually, it wasn't either, because I went in with no expectations. I was asked to participate in a conversation at the last minute, and but it was. I'd forgotten how big that place is. I've spoken there once, many years ago, but if you're not familiar with World Travel Market, it's basically destinations, airlines, tourism boards. I mean, destinations at the country level,
Yeah.
and at the city level. And so you have these tiny little hotels that have like a train ticket booth sized display, and then you have something like, I don't know, India or Abu Dhabi, for example, or the host sponsor Morocco, which had things that were tens of thousands of square feet, and just they look like full permanent installations. So it was quite an experience, and it's basically speed dating, I think, from what I could tell. People going around going, I've got to go to this meeting, got to go to that meeting. Luckily, I didn't have to participate in any of that, but yeah, very interesting to see the angles that people are taking to sell travel in a post-COVID world.
Yeah, I've seen some reports actually about it, but it's interesting. And as far as convention centers go, let's be honest, most of the big ones of any city are pretty soulless.
They are soulless.
Even I don't know, what was the name when we met? Suntech. I don't know if it qualifies as a convention center. I guess it's more like a conference center, but also it's not that fantastic, honestly. It's better because it's probably within the city, more like the Excel. At least you get to see Lucy, you're next door.
Yeah. You're right there. You get to. It's actually very easy to get to. It wasn't the day I went because there was DLR drivers strike, but there was,
There are no drivers at DLR.
Well,
Are they not driverless?
I appreciated the irony of it. I don't think anybody that was missing connections or meetings appreciated the irony of that because, yes, the DLR is an autonomous vehicle for all intents and purposes. So I think there was a little bit of trolling going on, but it was one of the big.
The robots have arisen, but they go on strike.
Yeah, it's time. We always knew this was going to happen. I think we just have to deal with it now. Just accept it.
And then I'll play the music for Genkai. Did since you mentioned Abu Dhabi, did they talk about the new terminal at Abu Dhabi?
No, it was surprisingly not part of their pitch. So no, I should have asked about that. How's that airport of yours going?
Because I was right. Okay, I had a hunch, but I was right. In the previous episode, I said November 14th, and I ended up November 14th. Actually, I was right if I'm very pedantic, because on November 14th, they had transferred all the flights to the new terminal, which is not more called Midfield. And of course, I don't know what it's called, Terminal 1, Terminal A, something like that. Terminal A, maybe. I didn't take any notes, guys, so I'm really sorry. But they started the transfer on November 1, so just a few days after we recorded the last episode, they started having, I think, 10 or 20 flights transferred, and then November 14th, everything was transferred. I had a chance. I could have taken Etihad to go to Karachi, where I went. I ended up going with Qatar. I thought about it for 2 seconds, like, would it not be cool to land on the way there to the old airport and transfer there, and on the way back to transfer in the new one? We had a listener, Mathieu, who went there. Actually, he was on his way to Japan, if I'm not mistaken, and he sent me a few pictures. It looks pretty. It is really huge, man. It's and apparently, I've also met at Karachi someone who lives there. Tells me they've already implemented like facial boarding passes and stuff, so I think you just walk through stuff. He's a resident in Abu Dhabi, so probably get some of the stuff that we can get in terms of registrations of passports and so on. But he says, I just had to walk through the airport from entering the airport to the gate, and pretty much everything but just walking, no interaction.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I'll play the music for Genkai, I promise. But since you just triggered me, I triggered myself with Etihad. They have not joined SkyTeam, but they have joined Flying Blue. So now if you fly Air France, KLM, Etihad, you can actually, earn and redeem miles on whichever for the other. So if let's say you fly Air France, you can redeem on Etihad, or you fly Etihad, you can redeem on KLM. And I think they are exploring, of course, lounge access, reciprocation. Is that a word? I don't know. Ground handling and terminal co-location, which means that you'll see more of these three tied together. Is that something? Is that a road towards joining SkyTeam?
That's what I was just thinking. I mean, when you started mentioning ground handling and lounge reciprocity and all of that stuff, it feels like there's somewhere in the depths of one of those offices, there's a roadmap to get them fully integrated.
Exactly. At least it feels like that Etihad is waking up from its slump. There was like this big era, then it was kind of going really nowhere. It seems to be back to being something. So at least that's cool. Let's play that music for Genkai before I forget. So we need to apologize for the sound of the last episode. It's been It's one of the things, we had just one morning to record, and Alexandra was in Kazakhstan. You were having audio issues. Everybody was having issues. And at some point, I made a call. I said, I'm going to go with that. We recorded on Zoom. And then, of course, when I listened to the end product, which is very different from what we're using here, I couldn't listen live to what was being recorded, whereas here I can listen exactly to what is being recorded. And obviously, the sound wasn't great. But I said, better ship it. And the feedback was actually great, besides the sound.
Yeah, the content was great. Yeah. Alexandra was so interesting.
Yeah, she was lovely. She was fascinating, and people loved you, Alexandra. So, yeah, you were right to wait. You were to insist to be featured one day on Layovers. Now, of course, I've gotten, since then, of course, other emails from other fans wanting to be on. Guys, you know the delay now. It's 5 years between the first email. I flew. So I said I've flown so many airlines. It felt like I was in 2017, 18, 19 for a few weeks there. Stayed 2 weeks in New York and et cetera, et cetera. I liked it, but I was exhausted at the end. I think it took me a week to recover. Not that I wasn't functional, but to recover as in almost I had like my body didn't know what the jet lag, where it was located in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't want to do that again. I'm going to probably have a few bursts like these, but doing it the way I did it, I was like, was I mad? Or maybe I was just younger.
There's definitely some of that, though, isn't there? I think there's fatigue, general hangover, not literally hangover, but like COVID hangover fatigue. I don't think it's a lack of fitness either in our traveling. But I think that we've touched on this, both of us, since COVID, maybe even started before COVID, that our enthusiasm and excitement about air travel and travel in general had waned a little bit. And so you don't have that to offset the just general faffery and exhaustion that comes with intercontinental travel.
You mentioned fitness. I mean, better health now that I was. Because I'm not traveling as much, I can take care of myself a little bit better, but it didn't help, actually. But at least, you know what? That was interesting. It's not only content to both of us that we've traveled quite a lot. It's only content for the next few episodes that we'll cover, because of course we won't have time to do all this week. And I've had everything from cars burning to downgrades and that will be in following episodes, guys. I just want to mention one thing it's not about the travels. It's linked to the travels. Is for Qatar Airways, Al Baker has resigned. That was quite surprising, quite sudden as well. I hope that it's not linked to any health concerns. We're not a gossip show, so we're not TMZ for the airlines. So we're not going to look into it. But it was quite sudden, and after 27 years, I believe, at Qatar at the helm of Qatar Airways, it's quite a big change, because is one of these key industry players that really reshaped the industry. He was also very brazen, which is why I will regret him. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea. I know that sometimes probably he spoke a little bit too much and he shouldn't have, and I totally understand that. Is he the Jeremy Clarkson of the airlines? I'm not sure, but I will regret the fact that sometimes, he didn't really care about the veil of or the fog of PR and actually went all in. I'm sure that Boeing is happy not to pushing back on having ladders in the North Carolina Dreamliners, and Airbus is happy not having him to push back on the peeling of the painting on the 350s. But he's someone that actually pushed the envelope.
He was, and I think he did keep those manufacturers accountable. Him and Tim Clark have always been good at saying, well, hold on a minute, guys, and asking important questions and saying not good enough, which is important when you have, for all intents and purposes, a duopoly in the aircraft manufacturing space. And he did it, as you said, in such a he was not a kind of dyed-in-the-wool businessman. He was almost an entertainer as well. So all of the things that he said out, you're like, I don't think you can say that. It's very funny. And I'm sure that there's a more constructive and polite way of putting that point across. But actually, maybe we all needed to hear what you just said. So I echo your sentiments about hoping there's nothing untoward happening health-wise or anything like that. And wish him the best. I'll be very interested to see where he lands, and I'm also very interested to see who becomes his long-term successor. I know they've appointed.
He was just named. I don't have his name. He was just named. He was at the helm of. He was a COO. I might be mistaken, guys. Don't quote me. The Chief Operating Officer of Hamad International Airport. So the airport.
That seems like a good choice.
Yeah, and I think the one big change that already happened is that Qatar Airways has removed the curfew, the famous curfew for crews. So the crews, and that was very heavily criticized for a long time. The crews had to be within the quarters between a certain time in the evening and a certain time in the morning, which, for instance, was a bit stupid. You couldn't, let's say you and me were working at Qatar Airways as flight attendants, and let's say because of jet lag or etc., we would wake up at 4:30 or 5, which is a great time to go out running in these countries because it's hot. You couldn't, because I think the curfew would end at 5:30 or 6. I don't remember the exact timings. Now it's become like all the airlines. Was it something that was already planned? Was it something that this new CEO has implemented? I don't know, but at least there are signs that the airline is changing, and I think he made some speech about saying it, looking towards the future, the usual. Let's see. Let's give him a chance. Obviously, he won't probably be as outspoken as Al Baker, but maybe it's actually part 2, chapter 2 of the airline. It needs now to become like the Emirates, like a big airline. It has revolutionized a lot of the things. It needs to be a more stable airline. Let's see. So today, I mean, you've seen the title of the episode. We won't cover most of the stuff. It will be for forthcoming episodes. We will. Alex, I think you've used Finnair. I think you've used LOT as well, which has been quite a while. We traveled with LOT together a long time ago.
Yeah.
BA, of course, this will be part of your trip. Frankfurt will be for next time. I'm very keen to hear about that. But of course, it's the return of Alex Hunter to Hong Kong. So, after COVID, obviously, but also because it's your home, it's your love. And I know a little bit about it. You've just returned from it, yesterday, 2 days ago or something? Oh, yeah.
Monday morning.
We're recording Wednesday, the 29th of November, 2023. So 2 days ago, a day and a half ago, actually. And your return to Hong Kong and back, and how you went there, what happened. I want to learn everything about it. So please go ahead.
Yeah. My beloved Hong Kong. Yeah, I don't know why it's taking me this long. I think it's been a confluence of circumstance that has prevented me from getting back as soon as I possibly could. But Hong Kong, as I'm sure everybody will remember, had some of the strictest COVID measurements in the world. They were going for this bizarre zero COVID goal. Well, I mean, that was ostensibly the reason, but we won't get into that right now. And I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but lately, quite a few of the Chinese airlines have been doing these unbelievable deals from out of Heathrow all over Asia. Not through China, actually, not to China necessarily. So what initially sparked this return was there was a fantastic fare on China Eastern to Okinawa.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned it. On Jack's flight, I think,
On Jack's flight, who I really admire there. We should try and get them on here one day.
So they're very good.
They're really good at surfacing these fares that are unusual for the route.
And I don't even pay for it. I use the free version. It's really good.
It is good. I admire them. I admire the way that they do it, and I admire the way that they run the site. And that popped up, and I've wanted to do an Okinawa episode since I first went there. Maybe even before then, since I saw some imagery of Naha, the main island. And so Greg and I were looking at calendars and everything like that. And by the time I got there, based on my schedule, I would only have about 40 hours on the ground in Okinawa. And that would be multiple legs of flights just to get there and back. And I just thought, you know what, that's gonna. And I tried everything to get there. Every airline, every combination, no matter how I could do it, miles, combinations of miles, one ways, in and out of this, fly to a hub and then LCC to Okinawa. I just couldn't make it work where it would kill me. And as a byproduct of that, I actually found a BA mileage redemption seat to Tokyo from London, which if you're at all familiar with BA or anybody, those are like hen's teeth.
They're impossible.
So you cannot find them.
I keep trying to find one to actually go to Tokyo, and the next available is in 2027 or something.
I couldn't believe my luck, and I got it because okay, well, if I fly to Tokyo, then I can. There's a billion flights a day from Tokyo to Okinawa. So I jumped on it and held it. And actually, in that process, I got quite familiar with a lot of these sites that have popped up that I've never used before, but I think in the last 4 or 5 years, the software, I guess it would be, has improved so much in finding mileage availability across multiple airlines. In the past, you would have to go to each airline individually.
Yeah.
And even then, if you wanted to find a seat on, let's just say for argument's sake, BA, and BA was showing no availability, there were sometimes tricks to go on like Qantas or
Yes.
American and find it. So you would then have to go to each site individually.
From the partners, exactly.
Yeah, and to find the same flight, same seat on the same flight on the same airline. Now it would seem that there are these new services that will do that for you, and they will give you a couple of searches for free, and then you pay a nominal amount to do.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Have you
There
found
are.
one that actually covers, because usually they still cover, for instance, one alliance.
Yeah.
It's rare that, you still have to use multiple ones. But I mean, they're better. Yeah, it's true.
They are better, and I think that they've found that sweet spot of doing the heavy lifting for you, and then you can go in and actually go to the website. I mean, it will say, there are 12 possible websites you would need to visit to find availability on this flight. We've checked them all. You can ignore these 10. Just go and look at those 2. We think these are the numbers, but you would need to go and check yourself. And that in and of itself is incredibly useful. So I got quite familiar with those. A lot of them offer alert services. So when a seat is released, they immediately ping you.
Yep.
And you can do it by class. You can do it by date. So that was really interesting to learn about and try and get my feet a little bit wet with that technology, because I feel like I'm going to be using it more and more. And you and I have had conversations about our mileage buckets and how they're becoming just less and less valuable.
Yeah, because of the devaluation, we said on messages in the past 6 weeks, guys, we said, I might as well use it.
Yeah.
Use them, sorry. I mean, and I've used them. I'll talk about in the following episode, but I've used them because at some point, if we wait for them to be there, it's not as good as they're going to get more useful. On the contrary, they are devaluated every single day. So I might as well. Yeah.
There's definitely a trend across the board of devaluing in the guise of what I can't remember the euphemism they all keep using, but it's basically we've made it better, and it's like, and let us illustrate for you how we've not made it better, but we're still going to say we've made it better. So I that was an interesting byproduct. It got to a point where Greg and I were just looking at the calendars and looking at what we would need to get to Okinawa and going, this isn't going to work. In the interim, I found a flight to Hong Kong on China Southern via Shanghai for a really good price, like through 300 and something pounds, which round trip, which is
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Crazy. And there's part of this trend of, I don't know why the Chinese airlines are doing it, but anyway, I just thought, hey, great. So I booked Greg on that after I confirmed, like, let's go back and finish this Hong Kong episode that we started 5 years ago and weren't able to finish.
You should mention that because you did. I think you mentioned during the lifetime of this show that you had been there. You started recording. There was even some footage I think you posted, or maybe you showed me, and then you never finished that one. So.
That's right. In late 2018, we went to film, ostensibly with the goal to discover how much Hong Kong had changed in 1997. We filmed for 3 days, but we didn't quite get everything we were hoping for. So we just said, look, let's come back in a few months. And we'll figure it out. We'll finish up. But unfortunately, life and the world had different plans, and we never got back. And it's just been sitting there, waiting to be finished. And of course, lots of things have happened in the world and in Hong Kong's life to change the narrative of that fairly substantially. So we jumped at that opportunity. I booked Greg on that flight. It was like a 4-hour layover in Shanghai on the way back, and a 2-hour layover on the way there, and a 2-hour layover on the way back, which didn't seem horrendous on paper. Because of my timings, I could not take advantage of that fare. It wasn't available every day. And that's when I had to go, okay, I've got to be creative here because I've booked Greg's non-refundable fare. I have to figure out a way to get out there. That's not going to, mean the entire production budget is on my flight, So I started tinkering with these mileage things again, and I found a BA flight to Hong Kong twice a day at the moment. and it was an 8:45 p.m. departure from Heathrow, and it was not a lot of miles, maybe 30,000 miles
In economy?
in premium economy, actually.
Oh, wow. 30,000.
Yeah.
So
maybe I think it was
return
like-
or one way?
No, one way.
Oh,
One way.
okay. Yeah, okay.
So if you think about like a 75,000 round trip is about what you would expect to do for premium economy. But
Correct.
here's the thing that blew my mind about this. I dunk on BA relentlessly. And I'm doing it less and less. And we've both observed
Yeah. betterment.
significant improvements
Correct.
in customer experience on those guys. The IT still sucks unbelievable amounts of ass, but that's a different conversation. We have lamented, and this is not just BA, we have lamented since maybe the birth of this podcast, the fees and taxes ex Heathrow.
Yes.
Whether you're paying cash, whether you're paying miles. So any decent mileage fare you got would be offset by the staggering amount of fees that you have to pay.
It's true.
The total amount of fees for this booking was £100
That's nothing, man.
on the nose.
Does that even cover ADP? I'm not even sure.
I don't. I have
The
no
airport
idea.
tax duty. Yeah, guys.
I have no idea. I would love for somebody to chime in and explain, because when I was looking at Cathay flights, because Cathay have more frequency from Hong Kong, which is always good.
But were you able to find availability on Cathay via one of these websites, or how did you?
That's an interesting question.
Maybe you get there. Sorry, I'm preempting you.
No. I could see it on BA's flight because they're a partner, but it was mainly like fly to Geneva, fly to Frankfurt, fly to Paris, fly to Helsinki, and then jump on the Cathay flight.
Oh, I see.
So it was BA connecting to Cathay within Europe, but then I could go on the Cathay website and look at their availability using Asia Miles to do that. But no matter how I sliced it using a Cathay flight, the fees and taxes were £260, £270. So I don't know how or why BA was different, but it was a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah, it's a deal. Yeah.
It really was a deal. So I jumped on that point, and then I just let it. I'm like, okay, I can get there. I'll figure out how to get back later. And I was
You can always hire a boat.
yeah. And I was looking and Cathay ended up being a really good deal, because Cathay have these, as do BA, have these sort of midnight flights back from Hong Kong that arrive very early. The same, if you're counting midnight as the same day, the same day in London. I used to do those all the time as a kid coming back to boarding school. So you get that full day in Hong Kong. You go to the airport at night, you get on a plane, you fall asleep, come back. And so I booked myself in economy in the end.
So that was a pure, you bought it outright. There's no.
No, that was a Asia Miles redemption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
using your credit card or something.
using my Amex to convert, which was an instantaneous process. And the taxes and fees out of Hong Kong were not bad at all. They were like 150,
Okay.
120 pounds. And that was in economy. Interesting side note on the BA leg. I had a decent seat. I could see a decent seat on Expert Flyer at the bulkhead, because every other seat was kind of like taken. But I couldn't. I think I sent you the screenshot. It was basically, I got to pull it up because the language is hilarious. But because it was a bulkhead in premium economy, there's only one bulkhead in premium economy, and therefore it's the only place where you could put a bassinet realistically. So I tried to select the seat, and it said something like, I can't find the screenshot right now, but it was basically like, you can't select this seat because it's reserved for people with infants. And then the next line says, the infant on your booking is now associated with this seat. I'm like, first of all, which is it? And secondly, why infant? There's no infant associated with my booking. Anyway, it was a pop-up, so I couldn't.
They give you an infant for free.
They give me a baby. It's a part of like you get an eye mask and some earplugs and a baby. You know, if you've been particularly poorly behaved. But I was like that. It was BAIT in a nutshell.
It's a nanny service. You're taking somebody else's baby from the flight, and you take care of. Yeah.
Oh my God, my mom had to do that. That was she did that for Cathay. She would ferry back us 12 between 12 and 20 of us snotty turds across and then fly straight back. Anyway, it's like the seat's free. I can see it's free. I can also understand why they would block it for the airport. But then somebody told me this trick, and it might have been you. I went on Royal Jordanian on their website, and I did manage my booking, and I put my BA, PNR, and my surname in there, and it pulled it up straight away, and seat map, and I could select that seat, and I could continue, and then I go back on the BA website, and there I am sitting in that seat.
Oh, wow. Which is much better than the integration between BA and Iberia, because I'll tell the story in another episode. When I tried to do that, both websites, Iberia on one end and BA, would not show the same seat. Which is like, which is it then? So BA in that case actually listened to Royal Jordanian, and oh, that's great.
Well, I did wonder, like, am I actually going to have that seat? But
yeah, of course.
It was. I thought that was so strange. But it in terms of the redemption process and all of that stuff, and then paying for it and all of that, it was actually very straightforward and surprisingly cheap. And I booked myself on the 8:45 p.m. flight from London to Hong Kong, which got into Hong Kong at around 7 p.m. the next day.
Yeah.
And there is also a 5 p.m. departure from London, but it wasn't showing any mileage availability. So I set up an alert on one of these things so that if it did, because that arrived at 2 p.m. in Hong Kong, and I have a little bit more time to go and film and do some scouting and stuff like that. And sure enough, I got an alert, went on the website, was able to change it with no fees, no nothing.
You were able to change on BA.com.
I was able to change on BA.com, yeah. And that was a very straightforward process to change it. Managing mileage redemption and mileage bookings on BA actually works quite well.
Well, I had some issues. Yeah, it's true that if it's it's okay. Actually, no, it's not. It's not the best, but it works. No, I'm being unfair.
But I think what I like about it is it's instantaneous. So if you book it, the miles are taken from your account. The ticket is allocated. There's no manual intervention. There's no, and if you cancel a mileage thing, you instantly get your miles back, and you instantly get whatever taxes and fees you paid back. Yeah. There's no like, we'll get back to you in 7 to 10 weeks. Yeah. Which I like, and a lot of airlines don't do that. Do that. So I eventually settled on those two flights. It was a 7878 on BA, and it was funny. I sent you this message when I arrived at Heathrow. T5 landside empty, like eerily empty. Like I was like, what's going on? And I don't know if you've been to T5 lately, but they've moved everything around. So I don't get the privilege of using the first wing anymore. So
yeah, but you can use a club on the other side or not?
Well, that was the weird thing, is that the last time I went to club, which was in the summer, it was right next to the first wing.
Yeah. Now they put it on the south side.
Yeah.
Like
so I walked
north side. Sorry, south is first wing. So basically, guys, on the other side of the entire terminal, you have to walk all the way through to the other side.
But I walked up, and there was premium economy check-in in front of me. And I asked the lady, where's club now? I was just out of curiosity. And she's like, oh, it's down the other end. But she kind of gestures broadly at the empty check-in desks. And she's like, you're welcome to go here. I'm like, oh, I'm absolutely going here. I was just curious to know where you moved it. And I went up to the booth, check-in desk. It would be nice if there were little booths, like little old-fashioned ticket windows. And there was a young lady being trained. And it was fascinating to hear her supervisor or whoever she was training her explain the processes. It's a mileage redemption, so you need to go on this tab. and now ask him where he's going, and now ask him if he's got any checked baggage. And since he's a silver member, remind him he can use the lounge. And it was like, this is interesting to hear what is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And it was all very straightforward. I brought a checked bag because I was bringing some of my cameras and stuff in my carry-on, so I needed to put stuff to the Royale, all the crap. But I fully expected to buy a bunch of stuff in Hong Kong if I had time, which never ends up being the case. Landside, however, was a zoo, an absolute zoo, which is kind of what we expect of T5. Yes. But I was like, where are all these people coming from? Because
spontaneous generation.
Yeah, they're just like, exactly, they're just spawning, after security. But it was, T5. There's nothing they can do about the layout, but it's always those weird pinch points, and you zig and zag and bob and weave through the mass of people who are all trying to get to the same place that you are, away from security and into the terminal itself. But I went over to the South Lounge, because now, have they always had this? They have a indicator of how busy the lounges are now, like a screen.
I do not recall that, but I've seen that last time. Although I was in the first last time, I was like, oh, nice to do that now. I have not been. So you were the South Galleries or whatever.
Gallery South, yeah.
Were they refurbished already? Was this one refurbished a bit already or not? Because I've heard, but again, I've not been. I've heard that they are either refurbishing them, because there are 2, maybe 3, or in the process of, or will be doing.
Did not
anyway,
feel...
You didn't spot it.
I mean, to be completely honest with you, I have not been in that lounge in years.
Yeah, forever.
5 or 6 years at least. It didn't feel a lot different, but maybe they've just taken away 5 or 6 years worth of wear and tear that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. Yeah. It was pretty busy, but actually I quite liked that lounge. It because it's got the lower ceilings compared to the first class lounge, it feels a little bit cozier and dark in a nice way. The way that they've lit it is really nice. It was busy, and I wasn't there for a particularly long time. But I don't hate that lounge. I don't hate that lounge. It's nothing to write home about, but it's a comfortable place. The food and drink options were good. Were really solid, actually, all buffet style, and that's fine. But I was pleased to go in there. Again, furthering the theme of BA's customer experience resurrection, the gal that let me into the lounge was bubbly and cheery. It's the kind of tone that you would expect at Virgin Atlantic, that kind of what they use as a differentiator between the sort of stiff, matronly BA. She was very casual, and I liked that. It was personable, and it was nice. And our interaction lasted 10 seconds, but it was like, this is you I'm talking to. I'm not talking to a robot, and you're making eye contact as if we were having a genuine moment. But yeah, so it was good. And and like I said, I didn't spend a lot of time there. The flight was going out of the B gates, so I did what I always do, and I walked and I'm really glad I did, because the way you get to the walkway is you join everybody else in the elevator to go down to level -2 to take the train, and then you go down to -4, which is where the walkway to the B and C piers is, and it stopped at -2. And the sea of humanity that was in front of me, I was like, I feel justified in this decision of walking. Not that I wouldn't have anyway, but it was. I've never seen that many people deep waiting for the train.
Yeah, same experience last time I went. Yeah, I also walked. Yeah,
I almost
and
always
also find
walk.
this train particularly slow, but it's not slow. The when it rides, it's slow. Waiting for it, there's not that many.
Yeah.
In the process of like opening the doors, I realized for security reasons, pardon me, they have some personnel goes inside and see there's no bags have been left, whatever. But it takes forever. When I compare that to pretty much any other train I take, whether the Qatar one, the new one I've taken recently, which I won't talk in this episode, it always feels like, so I'd rather walk, because by the time I've done all this, I'm pretty much already there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice to stretch your legs before you do a flight of any length, really. So I always make a habit of it, and I really do get a kick out of the murals that they have down there of these bucolic, idyllic British snapshots. You know, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. They're hilarious. But, the flight went from one of the corner gates, which are always quite unusual, just to the way that they're laid out, and I was starting to get the sense of excitement. I'm like, I'm going somewhere I love, and you're hearing the announcements in English and in Cantonese. And I don't know if you've experienced this either. This was also very new to me. They now have these automated boarding announcements at the gate. These clearly AI generated.
Yes, exactly. It's still a bit uncanny.
It is,
As in, you can still see it's generated. Maybe in a few years it will be completely not obvious, but yeah.
So it doesn't. You don't have the person with their mouth really close to the microphone at the check-in desk saying "Welcome to flight," blah blah blah, and you're going, "What did she say?" They're very clear. They're very concise. And I think it's a really, really good idea because it frees up the check-in agents to deal with all those people who go up to the check-in desk and say, are we boarding now? Or can you move my seat or blah, blah, blah.
By the way, parenthesis, nothing to do, but it's just AI generative voice. I cannot recall. I was on a call with an airline. It was not BA. And now they have that to answer you. It's clearly AI generated. As in, it's not, these weird recordings with these preset answers and questions. It's clearly listening to you and answering something that makes sense. Mm-hmm. However, you can still make out that it's limited at what it can do because it has a preset still somewhere, like some playground. Yeah. And it was so frustrating because literally for the first 10 seconds, I'm like, oh, I'm talking to someone, and then not. And then I would ask for something specific, and clearly it was not within the parameters of that, let's call it AI, whatever, LLM. And I was starting to get, pissed off, and I was like, give me someone. But it's actually, that's the future. Sorry, end of parenthesis.
No, I think you're right. And I think that it's a sensible use of that technology, whatever you want to call it, to do that type of thing, because it's so much clearer and it's so much easier to understand. And I think it removes any ambiguity because they're scripted and they're tested and they're scripted and they're
for the messages in the airport, that's for sure.
It makes so much sense to do it like that, and it
avoids the we are going from gate A, change of tone.
Exactly. There's that too. So it was difficult to tell from the gate area because those gates at the end of the piers, the north and south ends of the piers, they kind of merge into each other. There's like two or three gates at least that merge into. So it's really hard to tell, looking around, like how many of these people are going to be on my flight. So it was quite difficult to tell how busy the flight was. But we boarded pretty promptly. Actually, they started with group numbers, and they were really on it about checking group numbers when people were boarding. They had somebody at the front of the entrance to the Tensibarium maze checking passports, checking boarding passes, and turning people away, which is so refreshing to see that.
Have you seen, by the way, Ed Parsons posted that he's now Group 0.
No?
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
Yeah, because he's GGL, gold guest list. So he's just posted, I think it was on Instagram, Ed Parsons. You can always chime in on Twitter, wherever you want, or just send us a text and email. I think he's Group 0, which I guess it's it's a way to say, Group 1 is gold and first or business or whatever. So then Group 0 means like he needs something higher to process GGLs first. So he had the boarding pass when it said Group 0. And I think BA is trialing it. I don't know if it's fully set.
Wow, that's interesting.
-1.
Yeah.
-5.
Group Theta. Yeah, I would be interested to see. Ed, let us know what that means. In terms of boarding group, like when do you board? How do you board? Does somebody carry you onto the airplane? I want to know all of this. That's fast. No, I didn't know.
Old.
Yeah. I can't remember if I actually concluded this point, but I did actually get that bulkhead seat in the end. Oh yeah, I did say that on Road
Yes, you
Titanium.
did say it.
And I kept an eye on Expert
Is
Flyer.
it two on the Dreamliner? Is like 232 on premium economy?
242.
242 maybe. Like the
I can't
777?
remember, but it's definitely 2 on the outsides. And on Expert Flyer, the seat next to me had been blocked.
Okay.
So I was like, great, I even have a little bit of
That's
extra
the
space.
infant.
That's the infant. Yeah, this is the infant that I'm supposed to be taking with me. And sure enough, I got my bulkhead seat, and everybody else boards, and it's sort of, I would say 70% full, and push back, and the seat's empty, and I'm like, oh great,
Yes.
no one next to me. This is great.
Bingo.
Take off reasonably on time from the northerly runway, and I'm looking on Plane Finder seeing who's around me and Flight Radar. I take off, and I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be a long one. It's just going to be just shy of 13 hours because we can't fly over Russia. So
Yeah.
this routing is going to be a long flight. So I might get settled in. And about 10 minutes after the seatbelt sign goes off, flight attendant comes up to me and says, I'm going to be putting someone next to you. I'm really sorry. And I'm like, she's like, their IFE is broken in economy, and there are no other seats in economy. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't mind. Like, I'd be pissed if my IFE didn't work for 12 and a half hours either. So fine, bring him up. And the guy was like, chill. And we just sat there and ate. But the routing was interesting because you go down and join the queue as if you're going to go to the Middle East. And there's always that long line of airplanes.
Yes.
And then at the Black Sea, you start to go east, and you go over Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and you enter China in the northwest corner before arcing over and then cutting almost directly down south to the west of Hong Kong. And then when you're parallel with Hong Kong on the latitude, you do a sharp turn to the east before you go up. But it means that the flight there is long. Even with tailwinds, it was 12 and a half hours of just, that was the longest flight I'd taken in a very long time.
I was about to say, because with COVID and everything, that must have been one of the longest flights you've taken for a while.
Yeah, it really was. And I hadn't been through any of that airspace in forever. Because why would you when you would ordinarily? Meanwhile, 5 hours later, Greg departs from Heathrow on China Southern to Shanghai. He is allowed to fly over Russia. And so we land at the same time.
No way.
I was like, you bitch. That's frustrating as hell.
Including his
No,
layover.
he landed in
That's
Shanghai at the same time I landed in Hong Kong.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But there's a little Greg story.
Very efficient layover, because I've done layovers in Shanghai. They were pretty good, but not that good, as in it's a big airport.
No. And BA premium economy seat is comfortable, and there's not a lot to say about it. That the cabin crew were actually really friendly. And they didn't know me from Adam, but they were really friendly and personable and chummy. The food was appalling, just grotesque. And I couldn't really see any differentiation between what we got in premium economy and what they had in economy. Even the pre-service drink is just orange juice and water. There's no champagne anymore. The food was just foul. So it's really something that they've got to up their game on. But it was actually not an unpleasant flight. I tried to sleep for a little bit of it. We landed in Hong Kong, and I was like, this point I was getting like so
really
excited to be back. Yeah. And we landed on the new runway, which I think is like the main operational runway now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they renamed did they do like Singapore? Did they rename the runways? You're not sure, because I think
to be honest with you, I don't know.
In Singapore, the third one now is the right, I think, and the one that used to be right is central, so they have a big C on it. Something like that.
I would imagine they must have, but it's definitely a point of pride because you go on the CLK website and they're talking about it, and you go on, they've got models of it, scale models in the airport now. They're clearly very proud of it. And what's interesting is like the taxi from that northern runway to the terminal, you're going through this monumental construction zone
Yeah, that's T2.
everywhere.
T2.
Yeah, it's like just so much construction going on, and it's pretty phenomenal, really, to see the scale of it. And you're kind of weaving through, going, "Are we supposed to be here?" And it reminded me of how well an airport can be run, because as soon as we taxied in to our gate, there was a legion of people there waiting to do their respective jobs to get us out, off the airplane and get our bags off the airplane in a timely manner. Just bam! As soon as we got there, they were waiting, and they jumped on the airplane. One of the things that I was struck by was how odd it was to see A320s and A321s in Cathay colors.
Yeah.
Because obviously I've never seen that in person before, because that transition had taken place since the last time I was there. So they are they're very smart looking airplanes. They look great in that livery as well. So it was cool to see that, and so many of them, and all these other airlines I hadn't thought about, or seeing like a Korean Air A320. When we're so used to seeing the big dogs and all these other
I've
airlines.
done that one actually, Hong Kong to Seoul. I think I've done it in 320.
It's neat to see.
Korean.
It's neat to see all those Asian airlines, and like Greater Bay Airlines, which is this new. I think they actually are based in Hong Kong. 737, another regional competitor. But it was great to get out.
By the way, for some of our audience located either in Asia or Latin America, must think the same about maybe a BA or whatever. Because they say, oh, we see the 380, but we never see the small stocks.
Or like a Finnair 320 or something like that. Yeah. So for us, it was, or for me, it certainly was a novelty to see all of that stuff again after so long, and going into to see, okay, and realizing how the immigration process has not changed a whole lot on the inbound. It's changed significantly on the outbound. And it took a while. You get
to get in or to get out.
To get in, it takes a while. Just there's a lot of people coming in, and bags came out really quickly, as they always do. I jumped on the Airport Express. We were staying in Wan Chai, and so jumped on the Airport Express, which is still a joy and fast and easy. And I sent Greg a message saying, "I've landed at the same time as you bastard. You said, enjoy your break, and I'll see you a bit later. Here's the hotel details," and blah, 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 blah. And my messages wouldn't go through. And I knew he was on the ground. And I kept looking, and they weren't going through, and they weren't going through, and they weren't going through. And I was like, if he had not been on the flight, I would have heard from him. I was like, what's going on? And I was starting to get a little bit concerned as I was making my, and like hours later, I get a text message from him saying, "Hey, so the new Beijing airport," which is where he landed. I said Shanghai all this time. I meant Beijing.
Oh, Daxing, the new one. Oh, wow.
He said, "I not only have been here for hours, and my flight they seem to have changed the time of my departing flight to Hong Kong by several hours. So I'm now stuck here. There's no internet that I'm allowed to get onto, and none of my bank cards work."
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. So he's like, "I just have to sit here." And I sent him a reply, not knowing if he ever received it. He eventually arrived at 1:45 in the morning in Hong Kong. So it took him 24 hours on the nose to get there. And this features later in the story, which I'll wrap up shortly. But Hong Kong was wonderful. It was great to be back. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it broke my heart to talk to people there. And I'll explain more in the episode when it comes out, probably early next year. But it was great to be back there. I love that place more than anything. I was sick for most of the time. Unfortunately, I spent most of it in bed. I was really, really unwell. We went. Greg is a trooper and never complains because he's British, but I could tell that the journey broke him. And so I used miles and I booked him on the Cathay flight back with me.
Oh, nice.
Because I was not going to put him through that, even if the layover was supposed to be shorter. So we both went out to the airport, having filmed all day, arrived at the airport around 9. I had to have a package wrapped up to go on the plane. So Greg went through Cathay now have self-service bag drop, so he could do online check-in and go to the self-service bag drop, and it was apparently very easy and very straightforward, which is great. And the thing about Hong Kong airport is you have to do outbound immigration.
Mm-hmm.
So you do security and then outbound immigration, which can add quite a lot of time, if it's busy.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly now, it's e-gates.
But I think I had e-gates last time. It was 2019. I'm pretty sure I had all e-gates. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. So go on.
Well, I'll be interested to hear how this experience compares to yours, because to get into security, you go through these e-gates, and there's somebody
you scan.
There's somebody
Yes.
shepherding you and saying, "Oh, you've got to go over here if your passport doesn't work or if it's not valid." But to even get into security, you go through these e-gates and you use your passport and your boarding pass, and it takes your picture, and then you go through security, which is still, they have not implemented any of those new technologies that we've seen at some of the airports here. So it did take quite a long time. And then when you get to immigration itself, you have another set of e-gates, and you go in, and because you've scanned at the beginning, you can use these second set of e-gates to go through the actual immigration screening. It worked flawlessly. It was no problem. And I was out into the terminal, which was at this point, it's like 10:30 or something like that. And it was already starting to shut down. You had a cadre of flights leaving for Europe and Australia, but everything else was starting to wind down. So some of the shops were bringing down their shutters. Our flight was going out of gate 1. And as much as I wanted to go down to the pier,
it's too far.
It's gate 63.
Yeah, I was about to say it's too far.
And I was still like feeling crap, and I was tired. However, the deck, the Cathay deck lounge is by gate 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to go in there, and of course it's very nice. It's got the noodle bar, it's got a coffee shop, but obviously everything's free. It's got a buffet, it's got this beautiful, I don't even know. I mean, it must be like 50 yards long, this bar that you can sit up at. And it's kind of open to the terminal, so you can look down and see everything that's going on. But Greg and I just wanted to sort of pass out at that point, and just relax. But so we spent like, I don't know, an hour in there, and then went down to the gate. And to get on board the flight, you use the same style e-gate. You never presented your passport. You never presented your boarding pass. You presented your face. Then you were allowed on in the right boarding groups and all. The flight. So I thought it was an interesting way of integrating that facial recognition and biometric processing across multiple seemingly unrelated organizations and processes. So getting into security, immigration, and then onto the airplane.
Dubai is doing the same, and I think it's others are trying. Charles de Gaulle is trying.
It makes a lot of sense.
Amsterdam is trying. Yeah,
when it works.
It's probably easier in smaller, more integrated environments where the government is very close to the airport, etc. Like, of course, Dubai, I said, or Singapore, but obviously Hong Kong as well.
Yeah.
Because all the stakeholders talk to each other. But I think, that's the future. And when I said at the top of the show with Abu Dhabi, that gentleman friend of mine who walked, probably that's the integration right there.
Yeah.
He has a UAE ID card that allows him to, basically just walk through, and this camera is recognizing his face.
I think it's definitely the future, and I'm sure that there's privacy concerns, but frankly, like,
even there are even plans for the London Tube to do that. They say the choke points for the London Tube, and I think probably every single metro system in the world, is the barriers entry, because people, faff around to find their ticket, and even though now I can do it with my watch, people still pull out their phones or whatever. And they say the future would be to have a system similar to this.
I think it ultimately makes sense to do that, because you're right. I mean, it's so many of them are the choke points, but it worked really well in Hong Kong, and we all boarded very swiftly. It was a 777-300, and Greg got an exit row. I told him to go up and ask, and because I could see on Expert Flyer 1 had opened up, and they, without question, without charge, they put him in the exit row,
cool,
in the aisle seat. And I was in this very unusual seat that that some of these configurations have, where I was one row back from the bulkhead, but the bulkhead only had 2 seats and my row had 3 seats. So I had this infinite leg room, and I sat down and I was like, where do I put my stuff? Like I can't, there's nowhere. Like so obviously I put my bag up, but like I had my iPad, and Cathay give you a blanket and a pillow and an amenity kit and menus and water bottles.
So that's a premium economy?
This is economy. This is an economy.
Wow. They give you amenity kit?
Yeah, a little amenity kit. And I was like, where do I put all this stuff? Because on some, they have like way in front of you, there's a seat back pocket that you can use.
Or on the side.
Or on the side. No, nothing. And I was like, okay, this is on. I'm like, all this stuff all over me. And eventually, after takeoff, I flagged down one of the flight attendants. I'm like, is it okay if I like take my bag out and put it in front of me? And she's, yeah, of course. Like, there's nowhere for you to put your things. And I said, that's kind of the problem. I have a few observations on Cathay, and I'm going to shut up. Cathay, the 777-300 interior, and I don't think it's just Cathay. I had to remind myself, it felt quite old, but it wasn't. I mean, the seats were fine, and all of that. It's the cabin fixings, like the cabin dividers and the overhead bins, like the things that maybe are just stock from Boeing. I think we've been spoiled with the Dreamliner, the 350, and to an extent the 380. They don't have that classic Boeing taupe yellow color to them. They're white. They're this sort of like clinical white on the newer airliners. Yeah. And anyway, I was like, this just feels old, but this isn't Cathay.
And maybe the lighting is older aircraft.
Yes,
is not as smart.
100%.
You can create these moods.
That was exactly going to be my point. Is that plus the lighting just gives it this sort of just not a fresh or new look. But that wasn't a reflection on Cathay. The flight time on the flight the day before us was 15 hours on the nose.
Grief.
And I was like, I feel like garbage. 15 hours is going to kill me. Ours was a speedy 1440, but it is such a long flight when you can't fly over Russia.
Yeah.
But the Cathay experience, even in economy, even despite all of the things that we've heard about the downfall of that airline, was really, really good. It was night and day. Like just from the meal service, that seatbelt sign went off and they were up and we got our meal so fast. Not like hours and hours. Because by this time it's like 1:30 in the morning for everybody.
Yeah.
Almost 2 o'clock. They got those meals out. Bam, 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 bam. Super fast. And it was delicious. Really good food. Good selection of. It wasn't like super crazy friendly service, but it was damn efficient. They got that meal out and cleaned up so quickly, and it was all edible and substantial. Really, really impressive. The other piece that was really impressive was the IFE. I have never, I mean, it shits all over Emirates in terms of depth.
Wow.
And Emirates is the gold standard,
say.
Right? Like I was blown away by how much content they had.
Wow.
And maybe it was because it was like, I love that movie. I love that show. But it was like, it was so well considered. It wasn't just the latest season of South Park. It was like 10 South Park greatest hits episodes. Like, I was like, somebody thought about this. Just the depth of content in there and the quality of content in there was so impressive. I made notes on my phone, like, I haven't seen that movie in years. I want to go back and see it. It has a camera, like a hilariously lo-fi camera on the belly of the airplane, but it was kind of nice to see. And then I managed to sleep because I was so just brokenly exhausted. But as soon as the meal service was done, lights went out, everybody went to sleep. They were constantly coming through the cabin to see if anybody needed anything, cup noodle or ice cream or something like that. And then about 2 hours before we landed at Heathrow, they provided a breakfast. And of course, there's an Asian breakfast option, and those always travel way better than a Western breakfast meal. And it was actually really, really good. We land bang on time at Heathrow, and we get to the gate at T3. And when you're watching on the camera, as you're pulling in, you're like, do we have enough? Are we supposed to be here? This feels really, really cramped and tight. And that's just T3 in general. And we sit there and we all get up. People's son goes, we wait and we wait and we wait, we wait and we wait. And when our Canadian captain comes on and apologizes profusely and says, I'm being told, not just by the airport, but several of my colleagues on other flight decks, that they don't have enough people here to work the air bridge here at Heathrow. And we are in a long queue of airlines full of passengers that are just as frustrated as you and me. And I can only apologize on behalf of the airport because they haven't apologized to us. And eventually, somebody came out. But I sent an impetuous tweet saying Heathrow is a shit airport because I was tired and I wanted to get home to my wife and I wanted to get home to my kids. It's BS that this is still the state of that airport after all of this time. That they can't have it. They don't have enough. And that is rush hour. It's been rush hour
I know.
For 35 years at Heathrow. You know?
No, it's BS.
They're
just not investing.
They're not
just
investing.
not investing. No, they're not investing. And when you look at all the other airports, and we'll do a rant maybe next time because we're short on time.
Yeah. No, it's
they're not investing.
It's
and for an airport that is privately held to have so high taxes, so they really. Airlines pay a shit ton of money to land there, to park there, to have the handlers there. Everything is really expensive. You're like, where does the money go? Probably in shareholders' pockets all this time. I don't know. But I mean, it's just impossible. When you look at, and I'll go to there in a few, Charles de Gaulle, the improvements they're being doing, it's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable.
And T3 is a shithole, especially. T3 looks like from the 70s. And
it's bad. And, you know, immigration was, given the volume of people that were pouring out of gates and into the main concourse on the way to immigration at T3, it actually, if you were E-gate eligible, it was fine. It took maybe 15 minutes, and you're through in the bag. My bag came pretty quickly. Greg's took ages. And then we both went on our merry way. So I'll wrap it up there. But it was so good to be on Cathay. Maybe I was looking through rose-tinted glasses. If I flew Cathay as frequently as BA, I'm sure I would have some gripes too. But it was good to be back there on that airline at that airport. I was so frustrated that my trip was really dampened, muted by illness, and I'm hoping to go back there in a couple of months and re-experience.
Couple of months, nice.
Yeah, because I'm pissed off, Paul. I really didn't get a chance to do as much as I needed to do for the episode. So,
to be frank, just looking at a very few, but still few pictures you've put on your Instagram stories, I said to myself, I need to go next year.
Yeah,
without purpose, just to go for 3 days and do a few things, walking around, the food, the pictures I love to do, stuff that it's been 6 years, 5 years, I don't know, 2019. But yeah, I want to go. I don't have that same relationships you have with that city, with that place, obviously. But seeing what, I want to go.
I definitely, from the outside, it's back and it's great. And I enjoyed it very much.
Good. Well, a few things before I go to my flight, because reacting to what you said on BA, good news. Not on Heathrow, but on BA. So there was Investors Day relation, something that happened a week ago or 2 weeks ago, perhaps. And I can see on the camera that Alexander, he spoke for an hour. He's dying in coughs, but he's pretty.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I hope
quiet.
you're all right, because there was quite a succession of coughs right there. So BA is investing 2.5 billion in customer experience over the next 3 years. So that's IAG. So Luis Gallego is his name that I said that. So that's good news for BA. Hopefully we've seen some of the reels, and I'll talk a little bit in a few about that as well. They want to improve the customer satisfaction in premium cabins, especially with a lot of staff improvement. So let's see about that. We've seen again some betterment. All Heathrow long haul will have the Club Suite by 2026, including the 380s. The 380s the refurbishment will start in 2025, late 2025. By the way, currently 60% of the fleet leaving from Heathrow is has the Club Suite. That's for those who are interested. They want to do it. That's interesting in terms of Avios. They want to have that's the term they said, consistent recognition of status across all the brands. Let's see what that yields. Does that mean that now that if you're, I don't know, silver like you on BA, you will have a similar level of recognition and similar wording in Iberia?
What does recognition
Aer Lingus?
mean, though?
I don't know. That's what they said. That's what I'm saying. It's a bit cryptic, but I guess they want to kind of find a way to make you feel the same in all the airlines that belong to the group. Consistent tiers across all the airlines as well. And they want to also have that all the airlines that use Avios, so currently it's, we've said it, Finnair is going there and Iberia, that you can get your balance on each of them, no matter where they are. So if you're on BA,
so it's a
Avios.
central.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
which you can already do on Qatar in a way. I've linked my accounts, and I'll talk about that in a following episode, and you can actually transfer very easily. So they want to do that by next year. They also want to improve how you can pay with Avios, as in you could discount your tickets down to £1 and still pay with Avios. Apparently, that's so not less of the tiers, but like a granular level of use of
That's a
Avios.
good idea.
Apparently. They want to do, and that's come to Heathrow, they want to do a large improvement in punctuality.
Yeah.
But you know what? They admitted, and that's interesting. BA said 2/3 of the cause of delays is down to them. So down to BA.
Oh, that's. I was about to jump to BA's defense and say they're working
say.
at Heathrow.
So 2/3,
Wow.
66. I don't know. It's so they admitted. So I mean, they said, we're wrong. We're not doing great. So we're going to improve that. So that's not nice. What I also noted it was long, and I'm going to stop because I'll never go to my flight. I also noted that, we're getting to 4 years into the pandemic. There's no more pandemic, but you know what I mean, 4 years since it started. And we said, when now we're going to see the same level of aircrafts and cabins and in 2019. What I didn't know is that currently there's the capacity of premium cabins is not at all where it was in 2019. It will not get back until 2019 levels until 2026, which is probably why business is so expensive as well currently. I think it's I don't have the numbers, but I have a memory that we are only at 60 or 70% of premium cabin levels in 2019. So it's interesting
in terms of availability.
Yes, in terms of simply seats available.
Right.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
And apparently that's because a lot of the aircraft are being retired, and it's a whole process that is being underdone. There's also the refurbishment. So yeah, it's interesting. And what else did I want to say? Yes, they say, BA said, full scale, that's their term, full scale refurbishment of all the Heathrow lounges. They've done part of it. So I've been to the first class lounge recently. Clearly, they replaced some. So they're listening to layovers. You remember my rant about it being old?
Yeah.
They've changed some of the seats. The terrace hasn't changed, but all the rest, you have newer seats, newer sofas, especially the dining area has changed. They're like big sofas. It's pretty nice, actually, that dining area. So it's clearly not that full-scale refurbishment, but they already have improved it because they've listened to our episode when we said that. When I went, the champagne bar was under reconstruction, so apparently they're redoing. But the plan is to completely redo all the lounges within the next 3 to 4 years at Heathrow. So that's interesting. They want to. That's the thing. They say we're gonna invest 2.5 billion in customer experience, and then they said we're gonna redo the entire IT. They didn't say the number this time. We'll have a new app and a new BA website by next year that hopefully works. But the thing is, they didn't really mention, as far as I remember, all the back end. So I hope that is getting improved, because you can have a flashy app. If you cannot do a change of like I had issues to do a change of flights on the app, then it can be as cool as it is. It needs to follow in the back, right? So yeah, lots of investing apparently in IT as well. Let's see. Hopefully.
I mean, at least they're putting their money where their mouth is.
It's a good sign. They're realizing that they're an issue. They're realizing all this. They've admitted some faults. They are working on it.
There's obviously a serious culture change going on at that airline, which is great, which is needed.
And we've seen some of the stuff.
Yeah, sure.
What time is it? Do I have time? No, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I'll do it at the end, and then I'll come back. So because otherwise I'm going to miss my... So how did I get to...
Yes. Very excited to hear
How did I get to New York?
I think
so that was a bit of a...
here in the last episode.
Yeah, so so the reason, and I'm going to get, I mean, you'll see it probably in the description notes, so it's not a big surprise unless you have not read them. The reason I've decided to do this is for two. One is because it's cool to do it for layovers, because I wanted to discover it. The other reason is simply because the clients I was working, there were two clients I was working with in the US. One of them had a partnership with them and said, when it came down to, how do you negotiate with your fee, like you do, Alex, as well? How do we do the travel expenses, etc.? They said, we have a partnership with that airline, so we can comp it. Would you like to try it? And usually, when they tell me that, I say, no, you give me a budget, because I want to handle all my flights in case I need to change, in case also because I want maybe to do something cool, or maybe anyway. But when they said the name, and I'm going to say it now, that mind of mine stopped on my tracks. I said, So they said, Paul, we have a partnership with La Compagnie. And I was about to go like, no. And I was like, the all business class airline. Yeah, actually, I want to do that. So the downside of it, which is why the routing makes no sense, the downside of it is, of course, they depart from Orly to New York, so Newark, actually, so New Jersey, instead of departing from London, which clearly makes little sense, but I wanted to try them. They used to, you probably remember, Alex.
Yeah.
They used to fly from Luton for a year, I think, right at the birth of this podcast, 2014, 2015. I mean, Luton, for crying out loud. But they were doing Luton, but they left the UK in 2016, I think. So now they've concentrated their efforts on, I thought, only to Newark, but I realized, and you realized as well, because we were trying to understand the business model of that airline, they have only two aircraft, 321s, Neos, and they fly from Orly, they fly from Milan Malpensa, they also fly to Saint Martin's in the famous, the landing that is all over YouTube in the Caribbean, and of course Newark. And they have also a few other, I think they're going to Libreville, which is the capital of, is it Libreville, the capital of Gabon, which is I think it's, let's be honest, I think there's oil money there. Elf, the biggest, is it still Elf? The equivalent of BP in France. I think there's probably a reason why everybody would fly business class there. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken, guys. We have listeners from Gabon. Please tell me I'm off and that I'm completely... But anyway, they have two airlines. They have two aircraft.
I can't get over that.
Two aircraft. And the ride is pretty long. I mean, pretty long. It's 7 hours. We're not talking the 12 and 14 and 15 that Alex just did. But so 321 Neos. They used to have 757s, 200s. Also all business class, but older, clearly, if you look at the pictures. They will have 321 long range coming in 2025, I think. It's a 10-year-old company. And, I was trying to understand how many employees do they have. They must have less than 50. It's nowhere written, but looking at, you go on LinkedIn. I was born in the airport, so I was trying to understand the business because you were asking me, how do they? And I don't know, man. So, yeah, tiny company, which, by the way, I clearly saw when I was getting my ticket. So the client paid for the ticket. The client took care of the ticket. So the client actually directly called, I think the CMO, I'm not sure, some of La Compagnie to say, hey, you need to issue a ticket for Paul, which took the time it took, because whatever, that doesn't really matter. But as soon as I got it, I said, okay, now I want to change my seat, choose my seat actually, and I want to put my advanced passport information on the website, which turned out to be impossible, and said you need to go through your travel agent. And I'm like, the travel agent is basically one of the C-level of your own company. How do I say that to the website? So I called, and there's an international number, and there's a number in Paris and a number in New York, right? When you get to them, it's nice, but it took me 3 days to reach someone to talk to.
Oh no!
So, because again, if you call roughly before a flight, there's going to be people, less otherwise. It's not a shade on the company. What I'm saying is that clearly it's a small operation, and when you get to them, I said, okay, I want to have the specific seat, because I went, of course, on Seat Guru. Actually, by the way, there's very, very few little information about the. I mean, you can find the seat layout, but the quality of the seat, are seats different? Is there a better seat? It really. So it's an all business class layout, 2-2. So it's not like a JetBlue in the front where there's 1-1 for a 321. It's 2-2. So you still have to walk over the passenger next to you if you were to be on the window. But I saw that, clearly on their own website of La Compagnie, the first row 1, and the emergency exit row 9 were blocked. There were a little X on it. So when I called, I said, can I get those? They said, no, those are only released at the airport. Like, oh, interesting. I'm going to be 9 hours ahead at the airport because I want to catch them. So again, when I called them, they were super cool, super efficient, really, really nice. Again, however, you can see that there's some manual processing, because from the time I had given the seats that I chosen plus my API, it took a day and a half to appear on the website as it has been done. So every time I think there's some manual interaction in the back, they maybe write it and post it, and then it's fine, by the way, it works. I'm really not criticizing. It's really just a tiny company to the point that you cannot find them on FlightAware. FlightAware does not track them. If you put there the flight number, it does not track them. I'm not kidding. Flight Radar does, right? Of course. Anyway, so first I needed to go to Orly. So I said, okay, well, I need to fly to Orly. What I didn't realize is, since the pandemic, almost no one flies to Orly from London anymore.
No, there's been so much of those, haven't there? I
used to fly BA to Orly, for instance, right? No one. EasyJet doesn't fly to Orly. I mean, probably from Luton or Stansted. I didn't check, because these airports are way too far. For a flight that takes 40 minutes, not even, I don't want to take 2 hours, right? Yeah. All the southern airports, Heathrow and Gatwick, do not fly to Orly. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I find a flight, Vueling flies to Orly. And I'm like, and I get there, why? Because I had a choice of day when I wanted to leave. All the flights from Orly from La Compagnie leave at 10:30 a.m. Vueling was flying, landing at 8:45 a.m. at Orly. And I'm like, if there is only a 40-minute delay or something, I don't know, I'm going to miss my flight, right? So I needed to go the day before. And that applies to all the airlines. But I said, if I have to go the day before, then I might as well choose an airline that I want, in that case BA, and just enjoy it instead of going for the only low cost that goes here. I have nothing against Vueling. It was just that I was not sure I could do the timings. On the Sundays, however, note, there are 2 flights leaving from Orly, one in the afternoon as well. It just turns out that due to a prior travel, the only one I wanted to be there was a Monday morning, 10:30. I needed to leave to New York from Orly. So I ended up taking BA. Why did I not take the Eurostar? It's because the pricing, man, was exactly the same. Actually, it was even cheaper to go with BA than to go with the Eurostar. Reason being, all that happened pretty late, so I got my ticket pretty late. So I didn't want to buy how to go to Orly before, of course, I got confirmation of my ticket. Anyway, so then that's just the travails of travel. I take an Uber to go to Heathrow to take my BA flight on the Sunday. And, Sundays there's no traffic, man, right? That's one of the good things of not too much traffic.
No, you're right. I agree with you. I agree with you. It's one of the joys.
Yeah. So 3 people on sports cars on the M4 decided to race each other and ended up in a huge ball of fire. I'm not kidding. I didn't look into details. I'm not morbid, but I know that people died. And what happened is that suddenly it happened just right. We were entering the M4, and I went, thank God, 4 hours. I left 4.5 hours in advance. Had nothing to do. It was Sunday afternoon. I said, I might just as well go to the first lounge and have something, I got 3 hours on that M4. 3 hours stuck because, of course, you had helicopters and fire department and everything came to. So yeah, but thank God I'd left that early, or because it was really really long. The driver was Polish and says, "Do you mind if I pull up the iPad because my brother who plays in the Polish football league is playing right now?" I was like, "Yeah, well," so we watched football. On his iPad,
so cool.
Which he laid out. He was a great driver. Anyway, I arrived with honestly 48 minutes before departure. After clearing all that, I rushed. Thank God it was Sunday. No one on the first wing, and I still have access to that. I go. I remember I passed by the first line. Didn't have time to stop by, of course, but I just took a glass of orange juice because I was so thirsty, or water, I don't remember, and I rushed to the gate. Was all good. I arrived at the gate. It was a 320. Look, not even full. So it was really nice. Nothing really to mention. Other than that, the crew was absolutely fantastic. Really lovely crew, all middle-aged, the BA we used to know. So I was really happy about that. Very short flight, as you know. I landed at Charles de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle is, I didn't realize, undergoing a lot of works. I land at 2B, or you're not sure if you're 2B or 2D, because you land at the gate of one of them, and then you have, because non-Schengen and because of blah, 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 Brexit. And I'm like, this layout makes no sense until I realize I think A and C are closed and going into heavy refurbishment, which comes to the point that we said earlier about Heathrow. They're doing quite a lot of work, which will feature later in the story. So I go out, at that time it's probably, I was one of these late flights. It's probably late. It's 5 or 6 p.m. And all I want to do is I want to take a cab and I want to go to Orly because I need to switch airports still, and between the RER, which is the regional train, and then switching to the metro, I'd rather be in a cab.
Yeah, definitely.
Mistake.
Oh no.
Because again, what I didn't realize is the French on that Sunday, because you're like, Sunday, there's not that much traffic. No, it was holidays. They have 2 weeks of, so one part of France has a holiday on that week before me, and the other part of France has the holiday after me, which means that's a Sunday with everybody's crossing.
Oh no.
It took me 2.5 hours. It usually takes you 1. Nearly 3, 2 hours and 45 minutes to go from one airport to the other. And I'm like, this is not my day. I spent more time seated on taxis and Ubers than I had sat my bum on the flight. So I was like, oh, well, whatever. Anyway, I get a nice, and I often take cabs in France. I love cab drivers. Always fun stories to tell. Anyway, I end up at Orly. And I'd chosen, I think, a Novotel, which is literally a minute away from Orly. So interestingly, Orly has changed the naming of their terminals, which probably make more sense for international travel. They used to be, you remember, Orly Sud, Orly West. Now there's Orly 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, so Orly Sud is Orly 4, the number 4. So I went, I took some Caesar salad at a hotel restaurant or something, and it's pretty dull. I used to kind of not enjoy, but kind of like being, these travels when you're by yourself, and, you've done that for speeches, and you go quickly take a club sandwich or something, and you're by yourself in beat. And it was so dull that night. I was like, what am I doing?
I don't enjoy it anymore.
All the Novotels look the same, like Ibis, all these, and I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, it's fine. I get a beer and then I go to sleep. And I say, as I said earlier, I want to be super early tomorrow morning because if I want to get one of those good seats. So I go pretty early. I think, so they say on their website, La Compagnie, that check-in opens 2 hours and 30 minutes before the flight. So I go 3 hours and 45 minutes before. I took a huge coffee so I can wait. And actually, I arrive in the line, and I'm not the first in line. I'm like, really? There's other people before
Enthusiasts.
me? And actually, that's what I realized. It's not enthusiast. I realized, I'm jumping, but it doesn't really matter for the story. A lot of people are leisure travelers.
Really?
So the aircraft must be 78 people, if I count. I'm not sure, but let's say 80 pax maximum. More than a good half are like leisure people, and that's because it's a Monday. So on Monday, you just assume on a Monday morning maybe people are going for business reasons. No, there were a lot of leisure travelers, and leisure travelers probably tend to arrive early at the airport because they want to enjoy the experience of going to the lounge, etc. They're not like they're not all av geeks going early because we like it, like you and me.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. I wait in line. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. So they open exactly 2 hours and 30 minutes before. It goes very quickly. They're very good. They're very nice. And I arrive and I'm saying, oh, there's been at least, the line must have been 14 people in front of me. I'm like, there's no way. I lost my seats. The thing is, nobody cared about that. So when I arrived and I said, is there something on 1 on 9? They said, oh, well, 9 is completely free. I'm like, well, what? So nobody asked for that? Like, no.
Wow.
And I said, but just do emergency exits have more room? And the guy didn't know. He said, I don't think so. I think they all look the same. And I'm like, I'm going to still take it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so I took my emergency exit. I said 9A, sorry, pardon me. And I'm like, okay, well. Then I go, Orly is, we've covered it in the past. It's not great. It's like a Gatwick, but worse than Gatwick.
Yeah.
But at least there's, they give you, because it's business class, man, they give you fast track. So you have, and the fast track is great. You follow like a long line, which is like a sticker on the ground, and you go fast track everything, fast track security, fast track immigration, everything is fast track. So that goes pretty quickly. And then I go to, there's 2 lounges. So on the website, they say if you have the Flex, which is the higher prices, which doesn't give you a lot more, you have access to the higher lounge, the premium lounge called X-Time. And if you don't, you have access to a prime class lounge. However, because I didn't buy my ticket and I couldn't find a fare bucket written anywhere, I didn't know which one. So I asked the guy, you can have access to the X-Time, which is a better lounge. I'm like, wow. So X-Time is a new brand, because it's also at Charles de Gaulle. It's a new brand owned by Aéroport de Paris.
Oh.
They created their own line of lounges, a la, what's the name here? Aspire. They are very, very good.
Oh, wow.
It's better than the Aspire I just mentioned, because maybe the French flair, the food is excellent. They're brand new, so that helps as well, right? So they look... There's multiple areas. There's an area with more sofas. There is more chairs and a restaurant area. There's a working area. There's the actual buffet, which looks like in a Christian Dior outlet. They're like, it looks really nice. And that lounge at Orly, man, has a terrace.
Oh.
A huge terrace. And it's a proper one. It's outdoors. There's no fake windows that don't allow you to see, or some barrier for you not to jump to your death. It's actually a proper, real lounge where they trust you're going to be an adult, and you can look at the entire apron, and that's really fun. That's really great. So there was obviously lots of Transavia, obviously there was like Air Morocco and Air Algérie and etc. It was really nice, even though that day was a bit rainy. And then I see my La Compagnie landing. I'm like, oh, here it is. It lands literally an hour before we're supposed to take off. I'm like, wow, this is going to be a fast turnaround. Mm-hmm. And indeed, man, it's a super fast turnaround. I've never seen that. So the boarding goes, sometimes I'm antsy, I'm in this exam lounge, like, should I go to the boarding? Should I not go to the boarding? But they told me they will make, the board, the screens were not showing anything. I'm like, yeah, but we're 45 minutes, 40. I'm like, I should go. And I see clearly all the other people in that lounge are from the same. It was pretty empty because not a lot of people probably had access. But, and like you said, I go.
Yeah.
And I'm way too early. I'm at the gate and there's like, I'm too early. There's nothing happening. So what I realize is that they need no time to do that boarding. From the time they started, the first person got their ticket scanned at the gate, which was me, by the way, because I wanted to see the plane empty. From the time I did that to the time we were in front of the runway to take off, took 13 minutes.
What?
13 minutes.
Wow.
Because it almost feels like a private jet experience. It's not a private jet experience. Obviously, it's very different. So, but there are not that many people. And because everybody has access to checked-in luggage if they want, because it's included 2 luggages, and because there's not that many people, there's a lot of space on the overhead bins anyway. There's no fight. People go sit, go sit, go sit. The boarding must have taken 4 minutes.
Wow.
I was like, it's done already? Like they're serving you that pre-departure champagne, which, by the way, you don't really have a lot of time to drink. You better be quick, because by the time you enjoy... Oh, okay. Wow, man. Of course, they come to me. I think it was called... What was his name? Julien, Jérémy? I forgot now because I didn't follow my notes talking to you. And explains to me what I should do in the emergency exit. I'm like, he kind of realizes I know, but he still goes, he has to do the spiel, right? And I asked him, I said, but is there more room in that emergency exit than others? Because it's actually not obvious, because it's all lie flat, big ass seats. And like, my conclusion that there is probably only 10 centimeters.
Right.
And how did I do that? I used my own body to measure. So when they say that on lie flat, the measurement they give on a normal seat should be 190 centimeters. So I totally expected that if I did go completely lie flat, my feet, because I'm slightly taller than the measurement they give on the website, I should touch my feet on the cubicle. Nope, I didn't, because there is clearly, and it's obvious because it's an emergency exit, there's clearly a little bit more legroom, but not that much. And like you, no one next to me.
Nice.
Magic. The flight was quasi-full. Nobody took the seat next to me. Happy as a happy camper. I didn't have to jump on. It's a full day flight, to go to New York. So it's not as if I would have to sleep. But yeah, and look, how does it compare to other business classes in the world? Of course, 2-2, and now the trend of having the doors. It's not the same. Clearly, we're talking about seats. I mean, the seats are brand new. The IFE, the screen is good, big enough, but not these big fat screens you can tend to start to see now on some business classes. But man, for me, the whole thing is about freaking 14 minutes.
Yeah.
It took nothing. And by the way, that explains part of the business model we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they can do these turnarounds so fast, then actually they can probably do more routes than we think and actually not stay on the ground as much and actually gain some money there. It's probably part of how they make money. But again, really, the experience in the flight, they give you this little amenity kit. It's, the usuals. For NavGeek, what I love is the socks. You know how they have these, usually you have dots or lines under the sock, the anti-slippery thing? They're not dots, they're little airplanes.
Oh, I like that.
They play on these little things. They play they play a little bit on the joy of flying. The crew is obviously very young. It reminds me of maybe like a EasyJet type of crew, the type of age you'd expect. Very well trained. Julien, he was like, and then the name of the guy. They're super kind. They're always there for you. But again, they're always there because there's no one in the aircraft compared to like all the. They're probably 2 or 3, by the way. Interestingly, I noted that on the very, very last row, 2 seats were blocked, and they're for crew rest.
Oh yeah.
There's even like a curtain they can actually pull.
Smart.
They were closed at some point. I don't know who was, but probably they're doing these. I don't know exactly how they managed it because the flight is 7 hours, so that can be a single crew. But then maybe they ferry crews around to make sure there's always enough to being able to do these super fast turnarounds. There must be something
Makes
in
sense.
it. I don't know exactly how it works. Yeah. So the seats are full lie flat. It's really nice. As I said, the screen is not that big, but there's enough content. It's not Cathay Pacific now. That's the new gold standard, you told us. But there's good enough content. There's not a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies. Obviously, it kind of goes a lot into French movies, which I do enjoy because I speak French as when I hadn't seen some of them for at all because I wasn't exposed to them, so it was cool. They give you a pillow and a duvet, etc. So really, the headphones are like noise cancelling, and you have a plug and you have a USB-A. You have all everything you want. So it's For the price, it's really, really good. The captain said, "Oh, it will be a turbulent takeoff and a turbulent landing." Well, the takeoff was turbulent because, of course, it was raining. It moved quite a lot for 7 minutes, but nothing. And then it was, it's a 321. It was smooth as silk for the rest of the trip. I watched some movies, and they have a Michelin star menu. Wow. We got an aperitif, we got lunch, and we got a snack service before landing. The menus are on the touchscreen. Alexandra, you said you wanted the menus on the touchscreen. They are on the touchscreen. Not for ordering. We can look at the menu, and I don't remember what I had because I don't want to take too much time. But really fantastic food. I mean, it's French. You can't expect it. The champagne was great. The wine was great. Unlimited free Wi-Fi.
Oh, nice.
Was fast. The only country over which we go over that is no Wi-Fi is the UK. How? Why? I don't know. But it stops as soon as in France you have Wi-Fi.
That's weird.
In the UK you don't have Wi-Fi. And for the rest of the Atlantic and the US you have Wi-Fi. I don't know. Maybe it's the long held, little frenemies between France and the UK. They don't give each other Wi-Fi. I don't. There are air vents, man. There are air vents, which is really, really cool.
I always look nowadays when I get on a flight.
Yes, right. Lamb shoulder or cabillaud. Cabillaud is cod. So I had a lamb shoulder.
Delicious.
I think it was really nice. Yeah, shaky final. Really shaky to land on EVR. I was expecting, this is why I took 9A. I was expecting being on that side. If you land from the north, you have these great views of Manhattan. Landing in Newark. First, it was so foggy and rainy that I wouldn't have seen anything. And anyway, we landed from the south. So I saw nothing but industrial estates. Still, I arrived in Newark, and it took me from landing, so arriving at the gate, to getting into an Uber, 16 or 17 minutes, nothing. There was no one on immigration. It was so fast. That's the advantage, maybe landing in the middle of the day. I don't know. And the traffic, I was lucky to be just before rush hour. From Newark to, I was in financial district downtown New York.
Perfect airport for it.
20 minutes.
Yeah, amazing.
This time, no burning cars, no holidays to have to cope with. Great stuff. New York, great stuff. Goldman Sachs, great. People loved it. Conference loved it. Blah blah blah. I thought I'd seen Halloween by being in Shibuya. Have you ever seen Halloween in Shibuya? Well, now I've seen Halloween in the West Village. Oh my God.
Yeah, I would imagine that's pretty intense.
Yeah, the West. My God, it was really fun though. But people are really going all in. It was really crazy. Yes, I didn't get any disguise, whatever, guys. That's not my type. But I took my camera. It was really, really fun that night out. It was that bizarre week. There was one week that was bizarre. It was that week where Europe has already switched clock, but not the US.
Oh, yeah. That drives me crazy.
So I'm only 4 hours. And then by the day I was returning, which I'm going to, is when the US switched clocks. It's something that is not an issue anymore. But I remember as a kid, my parents would be like really anxious about, did we change the clock? Are we going at the right time at the airport? Whereas now, anything but your microwave oven changes automatically. But so... Yeah, great week, more than a week actually, great, 10, 11, 12 days in New York. A return. The plane was coming, so La Compagnie again, Newark, Terminal B. The plane was coming from Milan this time. Strange, so they do routes from Milan. I don't know how they... Guys, if somebody from La Compagnie listens, you have only 2 aircrafts. I don't know how...
Yeah, that's what I can't wrap my head around. When do you do maintenance? What if one of them goes tech? Like, I have so many questions how you run an airline with 2 airplanes.
Exactly. And by the way, that was a thought I had. So I was going way ahead of the big 2 days I needed to be in New York. I needed to work there, so I worked with the clients there at their offices. But if the aircraft is an issue, I would basically lose a day because probably there's not like the other one just right there. They need to ferry another one, or the one that is coming in, or maybe I don't know. But it didn't happen. So the plane was coming from Milan, Malpensa. Terminal. Newark is good as in it's really practical for downtown New York because it's really next door. It's not that big and you can actually process things pretty fast. But it's really meh, right? It's in terms of...
Oh, it's not a pretty... Yeah.
No, it's not. But it's again, and to be checking. So again, I'm going to go early, Alex, because I want to try to score that emergency exit or first row. Newark ground staff. We don't change seats here. okay. I was the first one. This time I learned my lesson. I created the line for La Compagnie in front of I was next to Porter because people thought I was lining for Porter. So people would line up behind me and say, are you not? I'm like, no, for La Compagnie. What is that? No, you're on the other line. Anyway. So I was making a lot of people confused. But I was there. We don't change seats here. And that was the only answer. I said, but no. Like, okay.
You gotta love third-party handling.
So I'm gonna try my thinking is I'm gonna try my luck at the gate then. So I'm like, okay. We don't have lounges. The operator, so the Port Authority, have closed the Plaza Lounge on short notice in July. So there's no more lounge. And by the way, I checked. There's no lounge at all at Terminal B in Newark. The Virgin, what was it? Virgin Clubhouse was there, I think. Permanently closed. Everything. There's not a single lounge. Weird. Which is not an issue. That's very weird. And especially the whole Port Authority decided to close the lounge on us. I'm like, what happened? That's not their lounge, of course, it's a third party. So it's a very JetBlue experience. JetBlue doesn't give you a lounge. So they give you a voucher, a $30 voucher, which you can use in all the 2 amenities that are after security. Security is like it's really a bit of a pain. You have to put still your shoes out. I still don't get it. Anyway, it's cramped. It's not great. The lounge. So my lounge, I chose the Belgian Beer Cafe, which is basically some kind of bar. The service was the longest ever in the history of service. Like, thank God I'm early because my beer will arrive in about 4 hours. Maybe they're importing it with La Compagnie from France. They're probably understaffed. So anyway, it's kind of crap, but I'm having a beer and something. And it's really funny because next to me, I'm at the bar. Next to me, there's this American dude, and he's being approached by a woman, and she's asking him, where are you going? He says, I'm going to Paris with his old business class airline. And she's like, wow, what is this? So I didn't realize, but La Compagnie is a pickup line as well, because clearly they weren't going.
Bravo.
She was so interested in the old business class model. So then, that part of the terminal is tiny, so I stay there. So I didn't use the whole $30. And I said, can you keep the change? And the lady said, no, the voucher we cannot use the voucher for tips. I'm like, oh, this is really, really bad anyway, I gave the tip, obviously, because I was giving it anyway. But I'm like, can you, since I was not using it entirely, I said, maybe you can take it for the team. No. Okay. Boarding. Yeah, go to the boarding gate. Can I get a seat? And then goes the dilemma. There was only one seat available. It was the emergency exit, but it was the ALC 9C. What would you have done? Would you have rather kept your window seat, which is non-emergency exit, or would you have taken an AL seat?
I would have stayed in the window.
Yeah, there you go. Me too. I didn't take the AL. I said, I kept that my seat was 17 something, whatever, which is all the same, because I wanted the window. And biometrics boarding then.
That's interesting.
So there was something recognizing me to enter the aircraft, but she still checked my passport. So I'm like, maybe it's on the process of being completely paperless. But anyway, it was great. So the marathon also happened during the time I was in New York. I didn't do the marathon, guys. I actually avoided it because there was too many people. What I didn't realize is people are very proud to do the marathons, because the day after, I was still in New York, people were walking the street with their medals on. So I was like, okay. And I
think there's a lot of places in New York that will give discounts and free stuff to people that have completed the marathon if you present your medal.
Maybe that's it. Okay, thank you. But the reason I mentioned that, because a lot of people have their medals on boarding the plane.
Okay, so that's yeah.
Well, no, but it were just 2 days after the marathon, right? So I'm like, okay. And turns out, and I'm not kidding, 70% of the flight is people who had to run the marathon.
Really?
And their families or supporters. And it's a big party, to the point that the pilot comes on board and like, congratulations to all the marathoners. And like, all these people were French people who had flown just to do the marathon and were flying back, and they all know each other. So basically you're in not a party plane, but you are like in a plane where you feel a bit like, why do I not know anyone? Because everybody seems to know each other. And nobody respects the seats they're on, which is fine. Again, it's an old business class, all the seats are the same. which meant I had like I think 3 people different sat next to me during the entire flight. And it was really fun. Though.
It sounds like a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere, right? And the crew was in. They played with it, right? And yes, so 17F on the other side. Yes, there is I think slightly less leg room. So guys, if you ever fly La Compagnie, the emergency exits provide a little bit more leg room. I passed by row 1. By the way, I should have said that for those who are interested again to fly with them. It feels like it's not a good option in terms of leg room. You don't gain anything. You might actually even lose. The cubicle seems smaller. So don't do row 1, even though they were always full. Again, from boarding completed to taxiing and arriving, 16 minutes. I counted, man. Actually, Flighty counted for me. That's so quick. So that, again, that pre-departure drink, that champagne, get it quick. Clearly, the plane came from Milan because the wines were Italian.
That's interesting.
Exactly. There was new sets of movies, which I both like and dislike. They probably don't have like a lot of licensing, so they put all the new movies. And that this movie had started like 10 days before, like, oh shit, I cannot finish it now. I'll have to find it on the streaming service. Anyway, it's one of these flights where you're hoping to sleep 4 hours out of a 6 or 7 hour flight. I slept 2.5, not because I didn't sleep well, but because I was excited to try the stuff again and to see.
I can
I didn't really
understand
eat, so I was really tired. I had to learn how to jump over the person next to me again. It's something I haven't done in a while, Thank God I have long legs. So landed early, deplaning so fast. There's a fast track for passport if you are in La Compagnie when you land at Orly. So really, again, this airport is cramped, a bit old, but super fast. I was out in 10 minutes. By the way, they provide, in case you live in Paris and want to use them, they provide luggage transfer. You can have your luggage delivered to your house.
Oh, wow.
They have valet service. If you arrive with your car, they will actually park it for you. That's all La Compagnie.
That's really end-to-end service. I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. They probably use third party for all the services, right? It's not their own staff, but it's really smart. And again, the plane, it seems to be a lot of leisure travelers, but it's really fantastic, man. It's a great service. Would I use it consistently? If they were to depart from Gatwick or Heathrow, I would probably use them because the price is really, really below what you have in the competition. And that departure, landing, the speed at which it happens is just staggering. Of course, when you are sat in the front of any cabin, you'll be sat first, one of the first people to be sat, or you'll be leaving the aircraft first. But that feeling of you sit and 10 minutes later, you're basically taking off. There's no way any 777, it's just not possible. Even JetBlue cannot do it. It's wonderful. I hope that they continue, and I hope that they expand a bit, that they go back maybe to London. Maybe it's too expensive for them. I don't know. They are acquiring these new 21 long range, so probably they'll have 4 aircraft at some point. So maybe, I don't know, they're doubling their, Can it compare with some of the business classes that you've and me experienced? Probably not completely, because, there's no doors, there's no 1-1. There's a few things you don't get part of any alliance, but it's great. The mood lighting you were talking about, the light at Cathay Pacific, it's really well done. They use these hues of light blue, and it really works well. And the crew is super kind, super attentive. On that return flight, you realize the crew knew that everybody wanted to eat quickly. They were really fast whilst not being pushy. They find that right balance, and I really, really enjoyed it.
I'd love to. You're really selling it.
So I'll leave to Charles de Gaulle. It took me this time, thank God, there was no holidays, whatever. It took me less with the taxi, and I arrived way too early because, again, I didn't know. So I landed, 8:30 a.m. I think, maybe I'm mistaken, doesn't matter, but early morning at Orly. And my return flight, I said, okay, I'm going to get at 2:30 p.m. just in case, I don't want to have to rush in case the plane is late, although they always are ahead, La Compagnie. I'm like, I have to switch airports. It's not easy in Paris. But I'm way too early at Charles de Gaulle, 2D. And I see that there's a BA flight at 11:45 and it's not even 10. So I'm like, oh, wow. So because I've been so many times to Charles de Gaulle, I look for the ticketing. No, I knew it was there. I couldn't find it. So I go directly to the checking desk and says, is there ticketing here? He says, no, there's no ticketing in Paris. So they removed it. Okay. So I said, I wanted to switch flights. You need to call them.
Oh, for God's sakes.
So I called them. So I called the BA Gold number, which, by the way, has changed. BA, by the way, I understand that you've changed it. It hadn't happened, the international one that you're calling. But when you call, instead of like putting you through, it gives you the number in a very quick fashion and then hangs on. You're like, oh, shit. So I called it 3 times to note the right number. Anyway, I called the BA Gold line. I had checked into my flight, it was at 2:45. And I said, can I get the earlier flight? He said, in order, it's not his fault. He was very good. In order for me to quote you, I need to offload you because you already checked in. I'm like, fine. I wait on hold for about 6-7 minutes. And then he quotes me £150
Oh, give me a break.
to change. And I'm like, okay, because my original fare is not available on the earlier flight. And again, Expert Flyer was showing me there was a lot of, I'm like, okay, whatever. I said, he was very sorry, apologetic, by the way. I'm going to go back to my original 2:45 and I'll spend time in the lounge. Well, and I said, can I check in again on the BA's app? I said, yeah, you should be able to. Famous last words, because I could not obviously check back into the BA app. And when I go to that check-in counter, which is open, they look and said, oh, you're on the 2:45. No, you can only check in 3 hours before.
Give me a break.
Come on. So basically, it's fine. I took a coffee landside and whatever, but these little things sometimes. Anyway, I ended up actually checking. I still have to go to the counter exactly 3 hours before. And then that's what I see that Charles de Gaulle has done a lot of investment. The security is still the same. They haven't really improved they haven't the new machines, but as soon as you get after the security at 2D, this is one of the refurbished terminals. They're making a big effort. It seems everything is bigger, there's more light, there's huge windows on the apron. And that's what you think about Heathrow. You're like, they haven't created a new terminal. They refurbish whatever they had and it works. It looks brand new. The duty free looks brand new. Everything is airy. It seems that the ceiling has gained 10 meters everywhere. It works. And they have also, and that's where I went, they have also, because BA has an agreement with them, they have this X-Time lounge, the same name of the lounge that I was at Orly. Exact similar feel. The furniture was the same, etc. Really great, really lovely. No terrace there, sadly, but lovely, lovely place. And I'm thinking all the time there, I'm thinking, guys, what is Heathrow doing? I mean, this is a same airport. It's not brand new. It's not Abu Dhabi. We created a newer midfield terminal. It's not Hong Kong was creating their new T2 terminal, which opens next year. It's like the same terminal, the closing part of it. I think C and A currently are closed or whatever. And it looks great. It looks great. Is it competing with Abu Dhabi, which both of us haven't been? Probably not, but it's really nice. It's really nice. So I don't know what Anyway, then the flight itself, because that's very interesting. So again, a 320. No matter what I said about BA, every time I step into a BA flight, I feel home. So I like that. There's something about it. And that's probably why I complain about BA, because I want them to be good. That's what we complain about.
Yeah, it's your home carrier.
This time this time I'm in business, right? And I'm on 1F. And I had seen that 1D was blocked by Expert Flyer, and clearly it was. Maybe because I'm gold, they kept that one blocked as much as they could, and it stayed empty next to me, so the first row. I'll miss that gold when I lose it next year, man. Anyway, first time in forever that I had a recognition.
Wow.
Not that it matters. We talked about it. I can live without it because, again, especially on short haul, such a short haul flight is like 25 minutes, whatever. I'm kidding. James, the best recognition I've had in a decade.
What?
None of it was scripted. Of course it was in a way, but it was just a conversation with me. What brings you to London? I said, I'm going home. And I said, I'm tired. I was in New York and now Paris. And he answers, all the best cities, London, New York, Paris. And then he adds, the captain also wants to go home, so he will put his foot down. And with a smile, And I don't know, we discussed a bit further during the flight, really lovely guy. He said, if I understand correctly, that he had just turned 40. So he's not like the old guard, because 40 is not that old. But he had that feel of someone we had the entire legacy of customer service on him.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what to do, that customer-facing culture. And I didn't say that to him, but I'm like, hire this guy to tell all the other guys how to do it?
Yeah.
Because he was absolutely fantastic. Nothing felt scripted. Nothing felt forced. I'm sure that BA has not an algorithm, that's a big thing, but maybe, because I've seen that, and I'll come that in the next episode in other airlines. Maybe if like there's too many people above you and to recognize, it might not go down to you, even though maybe there's like, let's say there's 4 Ed Parsons in the flight. They must just do the Ed Parsons because he's Gold S list and not Paul. And that I get, which is why we don't complain when there's no recognition. But that the way he handled, it feels like he did it not because he had to, but because he wanted to, because he was finding pleasure in to deliver it. It was superb. It was personal, amiable, professional. It was fun. And I remember, because I texted you at that point, I said, no matter, in terms of product, whatever, we can always discuss. But for that, when BA is good, they're the best.
Yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. And they definitely seem to have turned a corner.
And then, the captain was really funny because it was a brand new 320neo, and the captain was very proud of it, clearly. Was there she or he? I don't remember. Kept repeating that it was a brand new 320neo.
Oh, that's nice.
Anyway, and then landed in Heathrow 35 minutes early on a lot of time. The captain was very pleased about that. 5C, though, Terminal 5C, had to walk, but it's fine. It was really great. That'd be a flight. So, La Compagnie, guys, do it if you can.
Yeah, I definitely want to try
Alex,
that.
do it if you can.
Definitely want to try that now.
It makes little sense to go to first, but if you're ever in Paris or it's something, you won't get miles. I mean, you get like some whatever points they give you, which I'm never going to do anything about it. Will I do it again? Look, if I go to New York, of course, I'd rather not go to Paris too. But let's put it, it's a possibility. If that client of mine that has this specific partnership asks me back next year, I think they will. I know I sound very cocky right now, but this thing was a success. If they tell me again, La Compagnie, I might say yes. Yeah. When I said yes the first time, it was like, I'm going to do it because of layovers and because I wanted to see it. This time I say, what? It was really cool. I'm going to do it again.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's an endorsement.
There you go. Guys, if any one of you has used it, let us know. If you have any questions, let me know. There were so many other things I wanted to talk about, but we're reaching the 2-hour mark. We have reached it, actually. So I want to let Alex go, and we'll do another one this month, next month, probably, hopefully, because we say that, and then famous last words again. Alex has to go to Excel, and I have to go to Karachi or something. Or maybe the opposite. Maybe I'll end up in Excel, and Alex will end up in Karachi. Any other things you wanted to say?
No, I don't think so. No, this is a fun episode.
Yeah, it was. Sorry. So it was really me talking.
No, both of us. It was balanced this time.
We have to do. I'll put the music and we'll talk over it. Where is it? Yeah. What are the? Do you have any next flights before the end of the year?
I don't think so. Possibly, but I'm trying to avoid them. I'd rather just stay at home. You?
You know what I have to say?
Yeah.
I was thinking of going to Athens and Geneva. Tokyo was always in the plan, but Tokyo I think is going to be next year.
Yeah.
I think I want
it's been a long year, so.
I always stay over Christmas. And actually, I have many friends coming over, so yeah, probably not. Guys, you have to tell us about your flights. We'll have, Alex will tell us about Rhodes. Alex will tell us about Vilnius. Alex will tell us about Helsinki. So I think there's a lot. There's Finnair, there's BA there. I will have to tell you about Doha Airport, the new part of Doha Airport. Just incredible. Just incredible. I'll have to talk about Turkish. I'll have to talk about being downgraded too. Parts of the story. Very interesting stuff. So probably next episode.
Lots to cover.
And on that,
safe travels, guys.
Happy flying.
Thank you. That was good, man. That was fun.